He was waiting alone at a bus stop, until a little girl said one sentence that exposed his loneliness. The night was cold, and the city felt emptier than usual. Snow fell quietly over the streets, covering everything in a soft white blanket. At the edge of the avenue, beneath a flickering street lamp, a man stood waiting at a bus stop. His coat was expensive. His shoes were polished. His posture was straight, controlled, the kind that came from years of board meetings and high-stakes negotiations. But his face told a different story. It was tired, hollow, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. He checked his watch, exhaled a cloud of white breath into the cold air, and looked down the empty road. The bus was late. He was alone. Or so he thought. A few feet away, sitting on the frozen bench, was a little girl. She wore a pink winter coat with a torn pocket and scuffed boots that had seen too many winters. Her mother sat beside her, quiet and worn, her hands tucked into her sleeves for warmth. The woman's eyes were distant, staring at nothing, lost in thoughts that weighed more than words. The girl, however, was watching. She studied the man carefully, her small face tilted to the side like she was solving a puzzle only she could see. Her mother didn't notice. The man didn't either. But the girl kept looking. Then, without warning, she stood up. Her mother blinked, suddenly alert, reaching out instinctively. But the girl had already taken a step forward. She walked slowly toward the man, her boots crunching softly in the snow. He didn't turn at first. He was too deep in his own silence. But when she stopped right beside him, close enough to tug his sleeve, he looked down. And that's when she said it. Her voice was small but clear, cutting through the cold like a whisper that refused to be ignored. "Mister, my mom says you look lonely." The man froze. His expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Surprise, confusion, maybe even pain. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Behind them, the mother stood up quickly, her face flushed with panic. I'm so sorry," she said, rushing forward and pulling her daughter gently back. "She doesn't mean to. She just says things sometimes. I'm really sorry." But the man raised a hand, stopping her. His voice, when it finally came, was quiet. "It's okay," he said. He looked down at the girl again, this time more carefully. "What made you say that?" The girl didn't seem embarrassed. She didn't look away. She just tilted her head again and answered simply. "My mom teaches me to notice people," she said. "She says some people smile but feel sad inside, and some people stand very still like they don't want anyone to see them." The mother's eyes went wide. She looked at her daughter, then at the man, then back again, unsure whether to apologize or stay silent. But the man didn't seem angry. He seemed surprised, like someone had just turned on a light in a room he thought was permanently dark. He crouched down slowly, bringing himself to the girl's level. "Your mom sounds smart," he said softly. The girl nodded. "She is. She says loneliness is loud if you know how to listen." The man blinked. For a moment, he just stared at her, this small child in a worn-out coat who had just said something no CEO, no investor, no colleague had ever said to him. He straightened up slowly and looked at the mother. She was still holding her daughter's hand, still looking like she wanted to disappear into the snow. "You taught her that?" he asked. The woman hesitated, then nodded. I didn't want her to grow up ignoring people, even the ones who don't ask for help." The millionaire was silent for a long time. He looked at the mother, at the girl, at the empty street ahead. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. "I have everything," he said. "A company, a penthouse, money I'll never spend. But I haven't had a real conversation in months, maybe years." He paused. "Your daughter saw that in 30 seconds. The mother didn't know what to say. The girl just smiled a little, like she'd done something good and didn't need to be told. The wind picked up. The snow fell harder. And in the distance, finally, the glow of headlights appeared. The bus was coming. The man stood still, watching it approach. Then he did something unexpected. He turned to the mother and her daughter and said, "Where are you headed?" The woman looked confused. "Just a few stops down, near the clinic." He nodded. "Me too. Or I was." He glanced at the bus, then back at them. But I think I'm going to walk tonight. It's not far, and I need the air. The mother blinked. In this cold? He smiled faintly. It was the first real expression he'd shown all night. Yeah, I think I need to feel something real for a change. The bus pulled up with a hiss of brakes and a cloud of exhaust. The doors opened. The mother and daughter stepped toward it, but before they climbed on, the girl turned back one more time. "Mister," she said, "you're not lonely anymore, right?" He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Not right now," he said. "Thank you." The girl smiled. Her mother squeezed her hand gently, gave the man one last grateful look, and then they disappeared into the warmth of the bus. The doors closed. The bus rumbled away, its red taillights fading into the snow, and the man stood there alone again. But this time, it felt different. He looked up at the falling snow, felt the cold sting his face, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't mind it. He started walking, slowly at first, then steadier. His footsteps left tracks in the fresh snow, and behind him, the bus stop stood empty under the street lamp. But something had shifted. Something quiet. Something real. The next morning, in his office high above the city, the millionaire sat at his desk and made a call. Not to a lawyer, not to an investor, but to a charity he donated to years ago and forgotten about. He asked them about family programs, about outreach, about ways to help people who were struggling but too proud to ask. The woman on the phone was surprised. She asked if he wanted recognition. He said no. She asked if he wanted his name on anything. He said no again. "Just make sure it helps," he said, "especially the ones no one notices." That night at the same bus stop, a mother and her daughter waited again. The snow had stopped. The air was crisp. And this time, when the bus arrived, it was warm inside. The fare had been covered, not just for that night, but for the whole month. No explanation, no name, just a note that said, "For the ones who teach us to see." The girl didn't understand what it meant, but her mother did. She looked out the window as the bus pulled away, and for just a second she thought she saw a man in a long coat walking down the snowy street. She wasn't sure. Maybe it was him. Maybe it wasn't. But she smiled anyway. Because sometimes kindness doesn't need a name. It just needs to be real. And sometimes, all it takes is one small voice to remind someone that they matter, that they're seen, that they're not alone. Even on the coldest night, even at a bus stop no one remembers. That's where everything can change.